Once upon a time, there were two brothers. The younger brother's name was Raj, and the eldest brother's name was Sohan, whose father had left them nothing, except a small estate. And the eldest brother started a clothing business, using that small property of his father. And due to his good fortune, his business gradually started growing, and he became very rich. But at the same time, he also became very cruel and evil. He became proud of his wealth and property. But his younger brother, who was a more honest and kind person, he remained very poor and had many children, which sometimes made it difficult for them to get even bread to eat. And one day, when there was not a single grain of bread in his house, he went to his rich elder brother and asked him for some grains and said, "Brother, there is not a single grain of bread in my house, and my children are hungry. Please help me, and give me one loaf of bread." But his rich brother did not give him bread, and said, "Can your children survive on that one loaf of bread? If I give it to you today, you will come again tomorrow. Have I kept a store of grains here? I have nothing to give you. You are a beggar and a vagabond. Go away from here." And saying this, he closed the door on his face. After this cruel welcome, the poor fellow did not know which way to turn. Hungry, barely dressed and shivering from the cold, he was barely able to lift his feet. But he knew that he could not go home empty-handed like this. He remembered the sad and hungry faces of his children, who would be waiting for their father to bring bread. "I have to take something home to eat for my children," he said to himself. So, sad and disappointed, he went towards the wooded hill, in the hope of food. And when he reached that hill, he saw some wild pears, fallen on the ground. Seeing them brought hope back into Raj's life, and he said to himself, "I must collect these fallen pears, and take them home." Although he said it might cause stomach upset, but he had no choice. Since the children at home were hungry, and there was not even a grain of food in the house, he knew that whatever he got would have to be taken home. After collecting those pears, he set out to go home, but he had only one piece of clothing on his body, and that too was torn and loose. And the east wind was hitting him again and again with its cold gusts. He was not able to walk even a single step in this cold. "Where should I go?" he said. "What will happen to us in that broken hut? There is no food, no fire. What will happen to my children and wife? And my elder brother has also thrown me out from his house." He could not understand what to do. He started crying, saying, "Oh God, what should I do now? How do I feed my family and protect them from this cold weather? Where should I go?" Then he saw a light coming from the hill in front of him. "The light is coming from that hill," he said to himself. "Someone must be living there." And then he looked carefully at the hill and said that this is Crystal Hill. And he remembered that he had heard from the villagers that the top of the hill in front of him was made of crystal, and that there was always a fire burning on that hill. And thinking that maybe he might find something on that hill that could help him and his family survive this harsh winter. "I'll try and find that fire," he said, "and then I might be able to keep myself and my family a little warmer." In this hope he started towards that hill. And he climbed higher and higher up the hill, until he reached the top of the hill. And facing so much difficulty, and cold wind, and missing his children and wife, finally he reached the top of that hill. And when he reached the top of the hill, he saw that a big and golden fire was burning. After seeing that fire, his happiness knew no bounds, and he happily went near that fire. And as he moved forward, the heat of the fire was increasing. But as he was about to reach the fire, he stopped for a moment, and saw 12 strange people, sitting around the huge fire. And he was shocked to see them. At first he could not see them, because of the icy wind, but now when he saw clearly, there were 12 strange men, sitting around the fire. Seeing their huge bodies, long beards, and sharp eyes, he became frightened, and began to wonder whether they were one of the 12 robbers. But then he suddenly said to himself, "Do I have anything else, besides these wild grapes, which they can steal from me? Therefore, I should not be afraid of them." But then he thought, that if they were not robbers, and were big moneylenders, would they have allowed him to sit with them? Or would they have pushed him away, like his elder brother, and asked him to go away from this hill? A lot was going on in his mind, and he was also feeling very scared. But then he again said to himself, "What have I got to lose? Why should I be afraid? If they are robbers, then I do not have money for them. And if they are moneylenders, then I will request them to let me borrow some wood, and if they do not agree, then I will leave from here and try to find something from somewhere else. God is with me. I should not be afraid." It is said that, when you have nothing to lose, you don't care about anything. So he moved towards the fire, and bowed respectfully and said, "Good people, have mercy on me. I am very poor, no one cares about me, even my elder brother has thrown me out of his house. I have no place to go. There is no fire, or even a grain of food in my hut. Will you let me take some wood and fire from your place to my home?" All 12 men looked at him kindly, and one of them said, "My son, come sit with us, and take some of the warmth of this fire." He was very surprised to hear his words, and became a little emotional, and sat near the fire. As soon as he sat near the fire, he felt a little warmth. But when he sat down, they all became silent, and he did not dare to speak, or say anything to them. But what surprised him most was that, those 12 men were changing their seats, one after the other, and they were changing their seats in such a way that everyone went around the fire and returned back to their place. And as soon as the 12 people had finished their rounds, an old man with a long white beard and a bald head, he got up from the fire and came to the Raj and said thus, "Poor man, don't be so worried, and don't waste your life like this. Go back to your hut, work and live your life, the way you have been living it honestly till now. And you can take as much embers and wood as you need for your house, we have more than enough." And saying this, the old man disappeared. Then those 12 men filled a big sack with coal and placed it on the shoulders of the poor Raj, and advised him to go home quickly. He was very grateful for their kindness, and he thanked them politely, and walked towards his home. But on his way home he realized that the embers were not hot, and they weighed no more than a paper sack. But without paying much attention to this, he remained very grateful to those people, that they gave him a lot of embers and wood to light a fire, and now with their help, he would be able to keep his wife and children warm in this cold. But this honest man did not know that what was going to happen to him next was beyond his imagination. And when Raj reached home, he looked lovingly at his wife and children and said, "Look, what I have brought." His wife and children were surprised to see a sack on his shoulder, and his wife said to him, "Where were you? Do you have any idea how worried we were about you? And what is this on your shoulder? Has your elder brother given you something?" Raj took the sack off his shoulder, and placed it on the ground, and said, "No, my elder brother had thrown me out of his house. But there were some good people, living on top of that mountain, who took pity on me. And they gave me some wood and embers, to protect us from this cold. Let's light a fire in our house, with the help of these embers," said Raj. When the Raj opened the sack, he saw that there were pieces of gold in the sack. There were as many gold pieces in the sack as there were embers. The sack was completely filled with gold and coal. He and his wife went crazy with joy after seeing so many gold pieces. But they cannot believe their eyes, that what they saw was not a dream, but reality. And they touched the pieces of gold, and were greatly astonished. He expressed heartfelt thanks to the 12 people, who had helped him in his time of need. He could not understand who they were, but he was grateful to them, for showing mercy to the poor man. "They must be an angel, who gave you so much money," his wife said happily. And both of them thanked God a lot. Now he could relieve his poverty, with the help of those 12 men. And he was very happy to be able to support his family. The Raj and his wife were curious to know how many pieces of gold there were, and what their value would be. But the Raj and his wife were not educated, nor had their children received any education, so they did not know how to count. So he sent his wife to his rich brother, to borrow a quart measure. When Raj's wife went to his elder brother, to ask for scales, this time his elder brother was in a good mood, so he lent whatever she asked for, but mockingly said, "What do beggars like you have to weigh?" The Raj's wife replied, "Our neighbor owes us some wheat. We want to ensure that he returns the correct amount to us." The elder brother was surprised to hear his sister-in-law's answer, and he suspected that this poor fellow was lying. This thing could not be digested in his stomach. And to find out, he put some grease the inside of the measure, avoiding his sister-in-law's sight. When Raj and his wife weighed the gold pieces, some layers of gold stuck to the grease. And the elder brother's trick was successful, because when he brought the scales back, he found some layers of gold stuck on the scales. When his elder brother saw this, he was very surprised. He could not understand from where his beggar, younger brother, got the gold. He was just thinking that his younger brother had stolen gold from somewhere, or he had joined a gang of robbers. And he immediately went to his younger brother's hut, to find out its secret, and threatened him that if he did not tell where the gold came from, he would tell everyone that he had pieces of gold, which he had stolen. "I will take you before the judge, and there you will have to tell from where you stole so much gold," said his elder brother. Poor Raj did not know what to do. If he is taken before the judge, he cannot convince everyone that those 12 men gave him the gold, and if he does not prove the truth, everyone will consider him a thief, and snatch all his money, and put him in jail. And he didn't want that, so out of fear he told the story of his entire journey, to the top of Crystal Mountain, to his elder brother. But his elder brother did not believe him. "You are lying, now let's take you to the judge, and you will tell the truth, in front of him," said his elder brother. "No, I am not lying, you know, I am an honest person, and I never lie," said the younger brother pleadingly, holding his hand. Seeing his younger brother like this, his elder brother thought in his mind that his younger brother Raj is an honest man. If he finds any money dropped on the way, he will deposit it in the donation box of the temple. His brother is such a person. Therefore, his brother cannot steal. And I have also threatened to take him to the judge, so he can't even lie to me. Maybe there are really 12 rich men on that mountain, and maybe I too will have as good a fortune as my younger brother, and I too can get gold from those 12 people," his elder brother said to himself. And in his greed to become more rich, he went towards Crystal Mountain. And when he reached the top of the Crystal Mountain, he saw those 12 people, sitting around a great and golden fire as before. And he went to those 12 people, and addressed them thus, saying, "O good people, I beg you, I am feeling very cold, let me sit in front of the fire and warm myself. I am a poor and homeless man." But one of them replied, "O my son, the time of your birth was auspicious, you are rich, but miser. You are wicked because you dared to lie to us. And that is why you deserve punishment." Surprised and frightened, he stood silent, and could not muster the courage to say anything in front of them. Meanwhile, those 12 men kept changing places, one after the other, and at last each person returned to his old place. Just then, as before, the old man, with the white beard, got up in front of the roaring fire, and went to the rich man and said harshly, "Shame on you, wicked man! Your brother is an honest person, so I have blessed him. As for you, you are wicked, and therefore will not escape our vengeance." Saying this, the 12 men stood up from their places. The first caught hold of the unfortunate man, struck him, and sent him to the second. The second also attacked him, and passed him to the third. And they all did the same in their turn, until he was handed over to the old man, who took him with him into the fire, and disappeared. Days, weeks, months passed, but his rich brother never returned, and no one knew what happened to him. I think his younger brother was the only one who knew about his elder brother's disappearance, but he very wisely kept it to himself. That is why it is said that greed is a bad evil.